Hello everyone, and it's Double Cross Anime episode 132. Today we're gonna do the review of the summer 2021 animes. So we're gonna do 4 shows. Nomad, Megalo Box 2 from episode 7 to 13. Dynazenon 9 to 12. To Your Eternity 6 to 12. And Off Taxi 8 to 13, and then we're gonna do another 3 episodes of Kemonozume 9 to 11. So I'm Mario.
And I'm Whooper.
How you feel about this season? Now that it ends, Whooper.
Well, I finished these 4 shows, the 4 that you mentioned, barring Kemonozume, of course. And yep. There's a couple others that I plan to finish, though I'm not too excited about them, like Vivi and 86. Mm-hmm. I watched Eden, which was not great. I dropped Bishonen Tantedan, which was not great. So it's really just these 4 shows, only 2 or 3 of which I would say were worth the time that are going to leave an impression on me as far as spring is concerned.
All right, so I have just finished the 4 shows that we watched for this podcast as well, but there's a bunch of others that I'm looking forward to finish them. Chief among them is the one that we talked about last time, 86, VV as well, and the Sharp Show, the Shonen Boy Detective,
all the ones that I just said that I am not too fond of. You're excited.
And the Thunderbolt Fantasies, the 3rd season as well.
Right. There is one series that I actually plan to go back and check out, and that's Bakuten, which is the gymnastics anime.
Yeah, I heard some of the good reviews, like the first few episodes. I haven't really followed like how well it performed since.
Right. Yeah, I thought the first episode was pretty mediocre, and there was a lot of CG in it that I wasn't really fond of. But I saw some Sakuga people talking about it improving over the weeks, and it kind of being like a nice watch, kind of a fun watch. So I might try that out. Apart from that, though, even though summer doesn't look great, I'm still looking forward to it rather than looking backwards.
All right. The summer, the show that I have watched so far, it's not that much. It's just like 2 or 3 shows. Freaking terrible at the moment.
So I guess you haven't seen the premiere of Sunny Boy yet?
Oh, I have. I have. That's the only like good one out of all the shows that I watched so far. So and I don't know if there any other show can top it.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but I had to grab a couple of screen caps for the blog because apparently everyone else had downloaded a version with a huge watermark.
I did as well. I don't know because I think this is only version that I saw on the end.
Okay. I got when I went to download it, I just got every single available version with subtitles.
Right.
Then I went through them and I found the one that looked the best, no watermark, and kept that one. Anyway, all that to say that even though I skimmed through it to get those screen caps, I have not actually watched the episode. So a lot of my hopes are pinned on it, as well as a couple other shows. But we're going to talk about those next week.
That's right. Is that next week or next 2 weeks?
It's actually 1 week from now.
Wow, right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready, man.
Me too.
So, right, which shows you want to start first?
Yeah, right. Back to spring. I don't know. It's up to you. You did the intro. You can pick.
All right. Let's go with Nomad.
Okay, Megalo Box Season 2. So I remember the first season of Megalo Box. The ending we were divided on. I liked it and you didn't. How do you feel about this one?
We will have that discussion like earlier in the mid-seasons. Like the mere existence of these sequels, make me really happy that the ending of the season 1 happened.
Right.
So I forgive all that. I feel it's great now.
Yeah, but like as a standalone thing, I remember you weren't a huge
All
fan,
right.
right?
No, no, I'm not at all.
What about this one
But
though? The
this
conclusion of
one,
Nomad.
all right. So you're talking about the conclusion. I think it's a bit of the anticlimax as well. So
Yeah.
I still a bit I still feel a bit the same as the climax from the first season, but um, I think it performed better than the first season.
Yeah. I have the opposite viewpoint.
Oh,
That it's
so you like the ending?
no. I also thought it was anticlimactic, but I don't think it was any better than I think it
Right, right, right.
was, you know. But that's just because our opinions about season 1 are different.
Hmm.
Yeah, as far as the episode 13, and we're covering like 7 episodes here from 7 to 13.
Yep.
Episode 7 is the one that introduces Mac, I think. And Megalo Box season 2 kind of becomes his story, starting with that
Hmm.
episode and going all the way through to the end.
Hmm.
And there are parts of his integration into the plot and like his takeover of the plot that I like. And then there are
Hmm.
parts that I'm not a big fan of. And the ending, the final episode, and the way Sachio threw in the towel to make Mac the star of this whole thing was definitely one of the parts I did not like very much. Like it doesn't it didn't even feel like we reached a particularly significant moment in the fight before
Yep.
Sachio threw in the towel. It was just like, well, you know, Joe's gotten in there, he's landed some punches. Both fighters are just, you know, they're feeling good. They're feeling fine. And let's go ahead and end it here. Ding ding.
No, no. It's not even that. It was more like he realized that he had a tower in his hand, so he threw it. It's just like that. Oh wow, yeah, I got the tower here. Let's do it.
Yeah.
That's the feeling that I got.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, I didn't like a lot of the Nanbu revelations in the second season. So the fact that
Right.
Nanbu, like the Nanbu's spirit, kind of comes over Sachio and puts his hand on his shoulder, kind of
Doesn't do much to you.
yeah, like that's what's prompting him to throw the towel. But since
Mhm.
it was since I didn't like a lot of the Nanbu stuff, that wasn't that appealing to me. And then on top of that, because this was like Mac's story in the second half
Mhm.
of this season, it just felt like it was kind of serving his character to throw in the towel there. Like
I
Mac's
do
the
think the Mike.
winner.
Yeah, I do think that the Mike story part is a bit weak for me. I like most of his stuff. I don't like some of his stuff though. Like the one that he realized that his wife decided to sell him off to save their son,
Right.
and his reaction to that I think is a bit like over dramatic,
You think
because
so?
I don't really, yeah, I think so, because like at this point he was in, like he have a very small chance to survive, so that she would do it, so I think it's fair for her to do that actually.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand what she did. She wants to save her son, and you
and
know Miguel is
and
his
him as
son as
well.
well.
Yep.
But I think the fact that he felt that the effects of this what was it called, Bess, the chip that was put in his brain, BES,
Yep.
Bess,
Yes.
the effects of that chip and of that surgery on him, Mac, he was
Mm-hmm.
beginning to feel like a monster, like
Mm-hmm.
dehumanized. And he was looking for a way to escape that. And so when he
Mm-hmm.
learned that she was the one who made it happen, while he wasn't able to make decisions for himself,
Mm-hmm.
um, that all of his frustration with himself, because he's acting in these ways that are cruel, and he's like scaring his child, and he's paralyzed Liu, as a
Mm-hmm.
result of their fight. So he's frustrated with himself, and all of a sudden, when he learns about his wife's involvement, there's a second channel, a new channel
Yep.
where he can put that frustration.
Yep. Yep.
So I totally I get, I understand why he had the reaction that he did.
Hmm.
But the thing is, like, that the fact that both his reaction and his wife's motivations are
Hmm.
both, like reasonable and understandable. The fact when they collide like that, it should be like really dramatic.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I didn't get the full weight of that. I don't think he just leaves home for a bit, uh, reunite like conveniently reunites with his old partner on the force, and then comes
Yep.
home.
Yep. Nothing happened.
Yeah, I mean he met Hakim, the world's friendliest cop, and as a result, he was able to go home and apologize to Maya.
Well. He listened to the music as well by a guy who's stealing
The
um
ED.
nah, yeah. I mean by the guy who's stealing the clothes from Joe, because Joe been wearing clothes, or it's a chief clothes.
I
This
don't
is the
I don't
essential
know.
clothes.
I don't tend to
I'm,
note people's clothes like either in
I'm,
real life
I'm,
or in anime.
I'm stuck up with that.
I mean, it would make sense for them to be like Chief's clothes, I guess, because that song was originally performed by Chief, I think.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. That's right.
Um, and to be honest, like, even though there are parts of Mac's story that I thought could have been written a little bit more tightly or been more emotionally involving, the
Hmm.
ED, I think the best thing about Nomad this season two, apart from the Chief story, which was great, the best thing about it is the ED. That song is
I
beautiful.
I
Um,
agree. I agree.
And when this guy who's stolen Chief's clothes and is like pretending to be Chief is playing that song, and then you get the super quick montage of
Yep.
Mac going into the burning building and saving those
Yep.
kids, and then his struggles afterwards, and his family coming back together, all that. Like
Yep.
the all the parts of the montage are like flying at you one after another, and you're kind of struggling to keep up. But the song is just like just propelling you through it. Like this is the greatest thing ever. This is so like meaningful, poetic, and beautiful
Mm. Yep.
because the song's so good. So that's
Oh, I agree with that. I feel that the second season of Megalo Box have a stronger identity than the first one. The first one is more, it's more sports shows because they have like the tournament act and stuff. Um, and the song, that song certainly, like is part of that identity.
right. Yeah. What do you think about, speaking of things that help to form the second season's identity? What did you think about the hummingbird motif extending into like a story that was told over the course of several episodes by a narrator? What did you get out of
All
that?
right. I like the idea. I really love the idea of like the hummingbirds. It's not even Mark, but it's Chief and even Joe is inspired by the hummingbird. Like it is the one who like shine the light for them to go back home and stuff. It's a bit too many though, because like at one point it's kind of like repeat, like telling you the extended story of the nomad and the bird.
Right. I think that was the
So
idea that
so
they only
a bit
they
too long for me.
yeah, I felt the same. Like they went back to it too many times. But I think that was the
Mm,
idea, that it had told you only the first story or the first part of the
mm.
story, and then it was like a children's book because that was the book that he read to his
Continue to
son.
involve.
And
That's
children's
right.
books are often like that. They will invoke a lot of repeated phrases because that's how kids learn, is through repetition. Um, so it made sense to me, that at first the nomad would say, like, I have eyes to see you and ears to hear you, and then later on he would say, I have eyes to see you, ears to hear you, hands to shoo you away, legs to go on this journey. But I don't
Mm.
know, like maybe it was the way it was translated in the subtitles, or maybe it was
Yeah,
just
something is missing, right?
hummingbird fatigue, but I actually didn't get a lot out of that.
All right. The one that I didn't really get is that the conversation between the nomad and the bird, where I think the nomad challenged the bird to spot out his lie or something. That's what I
Yes.
didn't get.
Yeah, I don't.
And it's not even the lie that he said.
I
But I did
think
say
I think the lie was that the Nomad kept saying to the hummingbird, "I have nothing left. Like I may have, my
right,
eyes and my legs and
mm,
my hands and blah blah blah, but I have nothing left." That was the lie.
right,
And the
mm,
hummingbird calls him out on it at the very end and says, "To me, from my perspective, since I am dying, it seems to me that you have the entire world in your hands."
yep.
But I don't
Oh,
like at that point in the show with Chief out of the picture, who was the hummingbird and who was the nomad? The the gray, it's just not very clear. Like, and especially
it
because Joe and Mac, their final confrontation is anticlimactic. It's like not very pointed. It doesn't go to a lot of
all
places that you
right.
would expect it to go to, so you don't know who's who metaphorically. I don't know. It's
All right, I can answer you on that because I think that's where the show theme is consistent to me because I think the whole second season is about men with a huge burden. They they are talented, but they have like broken dreams, and they are now like without any will to live. So like at the beginning, so it speak to Mark, it speak to Joe, it speak to Chief. So I think they are both metaphorically represent them. Joe's Mark and Chief. So I do think that it does have a point, and then it's just like the main thing out of the second season of Megalo Box.
I mean, that's true, especially that Joe and Mac have, they're very talented and they have broken dreams and they want to get back in the ring, even though it's going to be at great cost to themselves, et cetera, et cetera. But maybe one of the reasons that I'm not finding the hummingbird to have strong parallels to either of them, the way that it did for Chief, like so clearly, is because Joe and
Mm,
Mac have like the same story, basically.
it does. Yep.
Like,
Yep.
what's the guy's name? Sakuma.
Sakuma.
Yeah, Sakuma even points that out to him. Like you are now where Joe once was. They're like they're the same.
Yep.
Um,
I think the overlapping is intentional as well. But yeah, they didn't really do resolve it very clearly, like very clear for us to see the point. One thing I want to mention about the anticlimactic ending though is the wolf.
what about the wolf? Yuri's wolf, right?
Re- yeah, remember. Yeah,
Or
remember there is a wolf who just lying on the road, and
oh, Joe's
as
flashback. Yeah, in the
Joe,
middle of the fight.
yep, approaches him. Yeah, yeah, in the middle of the fight, and
Yeah,
then it wakes up,
yeah. Joe.
and then it just walks like normal. So I don't know what happened there.
I don't know. I think Joe is the hummingbird, and he, the dog is like the. I don't know, dude.
I I have no idea because I remember like at the beginning of the seasons, like the first few episodes, we see like the grave, the stone grave, and we thought that was for the wolf, and the wolf is like lying on the road and bleeding as well, and then it revealed at the end here that it just like just wakes up and just walk away,
Yeah, there was
like nothing
actually
happened. It's just so weird to me.
there was a lot of reversal of expectations based on flashbacks in these episodes. Like we thought for a long time that Joe never went to the hospital to visit Nanbu, but it turns out that he did.
I didn't pick up on that either.
Somewhere in these episodes, he does go and see Nanbu on like the night before his fight. Sachio wasn't there. None of the kids, none of the orphans are there.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, what the hell? That was that was the whole reason that there was a schism between Joe and everyone else on Team Nowhere. And that was the reason
what
why
did
Joe was so upset after he lost, was because he like his pride and his like fear of losing got in the way of his connection with Nanbu, and then Nanbu died, so he didn't. But he did go and see him in the hospital. That was very strange to me.
all right. How do you like the subplot between Joe and the Nova team
I just don't care.
kids?
I don't care. Those kids
All right.
can just get the hell out of season 1 and season 2 as far as I'm concerned. This where was the Joe focus in these episodes? Like this was Chief and
And then
Mac's
Mark.
story this season. And you know what?
I
That
yeah.
would be cool as hell if Joe had just been like in the background. But instead he was just enough in the foreground for it to feel like a distraction.
All right. I disagree with you on that because I feel there's a substantial look to Joe and this kid. So I'm happy with the way they involved. You know, that all these kids have different feeling out of Joe's running away from before, and they react to it differently as well. I think they provide enough for me to care about that subplot.
It's true that they all have different reactions, so they're all distinct from one another, but they live their lives in relation to Joe. Like it's as though they
It's
exist.
only Sergio who try to live Joe life though. Like the other have, uh, pack of them have already moved on.
Uh, Maybe. I mean, what's his face starts a restaurant, um,
Uh,
you
yeah,
know,
that guy.
and the girl becomes a mechanic and et cetera, et cetera. But as soon as Joe re-enters the picture, like they drop everything. Well, Sachio doesn't until he literally gets dropped by Joe in their fight, which was I'm not even going to comment on that. That I thought that was just like probably the worst part of this season was that they fought and that those other two. Never mind. I'm not touching it.
All right. So it seems like we are differ from we have like a different opinion on Megalo Box too because I really like it.
I think it's okay, but there's just
Yeah.
the story with the Sakuma and the Shirato
Mm-hmm.
Corporation is very plain. You know,
Yeah.
he's like the asshole businessman who views people as numbers and wants to milk them dry and just reap any profits that he can before tossing them onto the street. There's not much to him beyond that. Like he's quirky with all his tap dancing and stuff, but there's not much to him beyond that. And the Shirato siblings, both the woman whose name I get Yukio and Mirio or something, I can't remember their names. They hardly appear, so don't care too much for them.
All right. I don't mind them either. I don't mind that subplot either. You know, like every show have that kind of like development. I actually that you remind me of like an episode. I think episode 6 or 7, like before we learn about the scheme behind Sakuma things. It at that point we get introduction to Mark. We get introduction to Liu, and introduction to him as well, Sakuma, and we didn't know that his motive at the time. And at that single point of time, I was thinking that like, damn, there is a bad person so far in the show, and what if the show developed that like no one is really to blame.
Well, we knew it
Um,
wasn't going to be like that because there was an obvious
mm,
villain in just the chief section, like the land
yep.
developers who wanted to
Hmm.
kick, chief's people
Yep.
off off the land that they were squatting on.
Yep. He's the same one that we see this season.
Hmm?
Is he the same one that we see in this seasons? The one that tell Sergio to um to buy him out, and if he if he agreed that if he ag- sorry, if he agreed to play a fixed match
That's not the same guy, is
for
it?
him. Have no idea.
No, he's from Megalo Box season 1.
All right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He was the one who ran Joe's fixed fights, like at the very start of Megalo Box before he decided to go straight.
Yeah, I don't remember his face, so I can't tell.
I'm just talking about it was clear that
Yep.
Megalo Box wasn't going to be all gray about it, about the
Hmm.
the medicine situation. Because he was trying to
Hmm.
sell, Sakumo was trying to sell this tech to the army, you know.
Yep.
He was trying to get on the military industrial complex,
Hmm.
or the military medicinal complex, whatever. So he was like the biggest asshole ever, um,
Yep.
and
Yeah. So that's
I don't know, just a lot
yeah.
of
That's
disappointments in here for me.
all right.
Not a lot of strong storytelling, I don't think.
I still enjoy it well enough. I still think that it's for me it's better than the first season,
I would
which is
say
already like a high bar.
I would say that the first 4 episodes of Nomad are by far the best Megalobox stuff that exists.
Yep.
As for the rest of season 2 and all of season 1, that's all kind of, all those episodes can duke it out amongst themselves, but they're definitely tier 2.
Yep. All right. I think let's move on to the other shows.
Yeah, we spent a long time talking about that.
Let's go with Odd Taxis.
Boy, well, this if we want to talk about everything from episodes 8 through 13 of Odd Taxi, we would need like 5 times as much time as we just used.
All right, so that just I think just skip that up quickly because I really enjoy all these mysteries that happen in Odd Taxis, like from the small thing to like even the bigger things. How your general feel of it so far?
So far, it's over.
No, like after it's over. Sorry.
I think this is the best show of the spring, and I don't think it's
Yeah.
very close.
Right.
The mysteries are interesting, but it's actually not really the mysteries. Like, what was the deal with Otokawa's condition? For most of the show, I didn't really care. What was
Yep.
what was in his closet? For most of the show, I didn't really care. Now, the final episode brought those questions into focus,
Yep.
and combined them with his backstory in order to create something really special, I think. But
I agree.
it's mostly like just the weird and off the wall and kind of daring storytelling style of Odd Taxi
Yep.
that I appreciate the most. Just
I agree.
like what it is, and not for whatever it was teasing us with. Like the fact that Yano the porcupine raps all the time, and then in episode 12 when they get stopped by the cops and they find out that the cash is fake, he stops rapping, and then and then his henchman is like, Yano-san, you stopped rapping. And they both freak
like
out
one of
about
the-
it.
And yeah, it's like one of the best moments.
Yeah.
In Odd Taxis.
Yeah, it's great. Just stuff like that is funny, and the fact that it commits like, in episode 4, that was the gotcha episode. That was a whole thing. But in episode 11, the first half of it told the story of the front man or this front woman, whatever, for Mystery Kiss.
Yep.
Like her whole story and how she got involved in organized crime and stuff. I like that the show is willing to take a break and tell a story like that, and then get back into the main plot and like weave it all in.
Yep. I do think that the Odd Taxi is less about the mysteries, like less about solving them, but more about getting one character just meet another characters, and like spike the conversation between them.
Yeah.
And I really feel that like everything is not coincidence in this show, like where one character just pump up to another and like uh, a tree to the forest basically. And I think the focus for Odd Taxi for this show is all about interaction and conversation, and I really enjoy them because they both one of the like the most well written conversation that I seen so far in I think in anime in this industry.
Of all anime?
Not
Shit.
like certainly one of my favorite.
Hmm. What anime does have the best? I mean, you would probably go for the Monogatari series, right? For
No,
best dialogue.
I'm thinking more of like Bacano, but now I'm thinking about that. I don't think Bacano have like really good dialogues. I don't know why I'm thinking of Bacano.
Bakano has really good accents if you watch the dub.
All right,
So that contributes to like the sound and the feel of the dialogue.
because I mean more like the way we hear about their dialogue is more like live actions.
Yeah.
From live action show, it's not for like what we usually hear in anime.
Yeah. And you know what other show is like that? Kemonozume.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe not every episode because sometimes you have Oba monologuing evilly for like 13 minutes at a time. But
Right, the one that we're about to discuss.
yeah, but I think there are a lot um
Of Cuter?
of what? No, like
Sorry, just
realistic sort of dialogue in
yep, right.
Kemonozume. Like
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
whenever there's a quiet moment between Yuka and Toshihiko, the sorts of
mm-hmm,
things that
mm-hmm.
they tend to talk about. But we'll
Yep,
we'll get to
yep.
that. I'm sure that there are tons of anime that can compete with Odd Taxi, but it definitely is it definitely is different. You can watch one episode, you can watch any of the episodes and realize that somebody somebody with experience in different art forms is taking a crack at anime now,
Mm-hmm. I agree.
and it's pretty cool.
And yeah, and that's very cool because like I said, it's more about like these characters pumping up with each other. But when they focus on more of like the individuals episodes, like the one that we see in episode 4 with the gunning man, I just looking up his name now. Tanaka. Or it focus on one of the idols, and we see in the last episode where it's focused on our main character's backstory. Like in this just a short space of time, they already established like the way that the character thinks. They're all in the voice,
Yeah.
their point of view. It just like just watching those 5-10 minutes, we can clearly see the character as the person, and we have like all the reason to care about them.
Yeah.
So that I think that's just a really um, big accomplishment that they did.
Yes. I agree. I agree that the characters' voices are like very clearly defined in those sorts
Yep.
of standalone episodes or
Mhm.
spotlight episodes.
Yep. Yep.
And it does give you reason to want to see like how their story plays into all the other stories.
That's right.
And they play into each other in really interesting ways, some of which are hard to keep track of, like the eraser that
Yep.
falls out of Odokawa's pocket in episode 12 and
Yep.
sets off the
Yep.
gunman. Now, I remembered that the gotcha guy, Tanaka, you said,
Yeah.
he kept bidding on a one, like a collectible eraser, a
Yep.
only one in the world
Yep.
type of eraser. And so now we learn that it was Dobu who swindled him out of the money.
Hmm. Yep.
I feel like that was probably foreshadowed somewhere earlier in the series, but I don't know. I
Have
don't
no
remember
idea.
where it was. So I was just kind of scratching my head a little bit during that entire exchange. And then you find out that it
Yep.
wasn't actually Tanaka who shot him, but little
Yep.
little Daimon, And
Yep.
I don't think we see him in the background, do we?
Because at that moment, like everyone wearing the mask, and he must be the one who wear the mask and shooting the guy with that.
Oh, the masks were much earlier in the series. I'm talking about episode 12.
Oh,
The masks were when everyone was celebrating Halloween and stuff.
no. So yeah. So I think the little diamond shot him in the Halloween event, like the first shot.
Hmm?
So you get what I mean?
No. Little
The
Diamond was the one who shot him in episode 12. The show confirmed that.
I think that it's confirmed that he shot him during the Halloween event. So we will have a look on that. Because like afterwards, after the Halloween event where Nobu got, I think at one point in the police station, they mentioned the fact that Little Diamond just lost his gun or something
Yeah, I
in the
remember a couple
background.
of cops walking down the hallway and being like, "Ha, what an idiot."
Yep. And that's what after he shot Nobu like in the Halloween event.
No,
That's
that came way
that's a take
after.
that one. All right, that just this is one of the reasons why we I think I love Autopsy a lot because
Yeah.
it's so rewatchable. Like when we rewatch, we will like more of this stuff will make sense to us.
Yeah, the timeline of it, the
Yep,
details of it, the foreshadowing,
yep.
and
And even just like the individual moments, like where just the two characters just sit there and talk about all the things that's like come up to their mind. Bruce Springsteen,
yeah,
for
still remember that
example.
from episode 1.
Just like this is really enjoyable and will be like when the more we watch it, the more we pick up all these hidden clues that they put on screen.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff I'm going to be looking out for next time I watch it. I don't know when that'll be, but I'm certain to watch this again at
Yeah.
some point. The eraser thing is definitely one of them because I want to see that
And
like the show was pointing to Dobu as Dichi Ichi Ichi
yep.
earlier on because I feel like that's something that Odd Taxi would do is show you that it was Dobu who did that and then just let that sit in your mind, give you an
Yep.
opportunity to forget it,
Yep.
then bust it out again in the penultimate episode.
I just love the way that Nobu like deny all that.
Yeah.
And then Onokawa just say like it the avatar it look exactly you.
Yeah. Well, even that factors into Odokawa's like his condition
Yep.
because there's
Yep.
that
True.
scene at the bar where he's having a drink with Goriki and Goriki is testing him to see like what how he's able to what his vision looks like essentially, like how he's able
Yep.
to immediately identify silhouettes. So the question
Yep. Yep.
is
Yep.
those silhouettes are silhouettes of human beings,
Yep.
but he
Yep.
sees them as silhouettes of animals. Now that actually does not make any sense at all because
It's the way he sees so
yeah, but those are still images. They're not people. His condition
Yep.
is that he projects the appearances of animals onto people like human beings. Why would he do the same for like
I,
flat
I, I,
two-dimensional printed images?
I think once that he meets someone that he project the animal design to them, and that just like consistent to like where that's stored in his mind. So whenever he see like the picture of them, it just I think come back to them.
Right.
Come back
That's
to
why he
him.
has that incredible memory that a couple of
Yep.
characters comment on. Yeah, I
Uh,
get it. I just don't think that makes any medical or scientific sense. The
no,
fact that
no,
like
it
specifically the
doesn't.
picture thing. I can buy
Yep.
the fact that he sees everyone as animals. That probably never is not a real thing, but I can accept that as part of the story. It's just this one small detail
Yep.
in there that I'm like, "Huh?"
Yep. I understand.
But the
Um,
strength of the finale overall just blew all my concerns
yeah.
like out of the water. Dude, the scene where his taxi is careening off and you see they're all linked together by
Yep.
all the stuff
Yep.
dropping into the water. Just unbelievable. That was the first time that I got a little bit emotional watching this show because most of the time I was just kind of like, studying it. and admiring it.
Yep.
But when during that scene, I started to like get choked up a little bit.
Yeah, it blew me away on that scene. To be honest, it's more like at that point we see like everyone really linked together,
Yeah, and you
and
get
it's not even the event where they should have linked together. Like it just they just witnessing a taxi running off the bridge.
right. I think in that sense, in that moment, in that scene, you get a sense of what Odd Taxi is like really all about, which is
Mm-hmm.
that all of these characters are like, they've messed up somewhere along the line. They're dealing with some sort of pain, and they've screwed up and created problems for themselves. And each of them has a moment, like a moment in time or a part of their life that is sitting there in the back of their mind and causing this big mental knot that can be triggered by seeing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of
Mm-hmm.
all of them have that issue. And I think like if you were to extrapolate that and say and try to determine what Odd Taxi is saying about like human nature or just about people in general, I think it's saying that all of us have that moment of something
A
drop.
hidden side.
All of us have like mentally a moment where something was quote unquote dropped in the water. Like
Yep.
we all.
Inspiration.
No, what I mean to say is that there's something that all of us are hanging on to, like a memory that all of us are hanging on to of like better times
Yep. Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
when things were different. Um,
Yep.
and it
And
takes
that is the moment.
yeah, that I mean something can set you off and send you back to that time mentally.
Right.
And
Yep.
that's
Yep.
Otokawa had like the worst case of that out of anyone because his memory of seeing animals at the zoo and of the book that his dad got him, like took over his senses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all
Yep.
of the other characters experience something similar but much, much smaller in that moment as they saw the taxi careening off the bridge and into the water. They were all transported back to a different time in their life, each of
Mm-hmm.
them, just for a second.
All right. There are 3 points that I want to mention. The first is just the small plot points that I want to clarify. The first is the eraser. The eraser. They have the figure of I think some of the characters.
Are you
I
talking
think
about the specific eraser from episode 12?
yeah, that's that. Yes, that one.
That guy is Donraku. He's like a Rakugo star. And it's
Oh,
his
he's a
daughter
Rakugo
who
star.
was killed. The black
Oh,
cat who
right.
was killed.
I didn't have that connection. All right, it's clear now. Phew. How about the Homo sapien duo? Because I think they get a lot of screen time that late of the game, and they don't really, like satisfy. They don't really need to be a reason to be there.
I love them, so I don't really care.
All right,
I think that they're,
all right.
especially the boar. His voice is so awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
they
a
don't link into the crime story particularly
yeah.
effectively. They're just passengers in his cab at one point, and then
Mhm.
I don't know. They
Yeah,
they the whoever wrote Odd Taxi probably likes manzai comedy and just wanted to put them in, just like he wanted to comment on like gotcha obsession and idol culture and
yeah.
different things like that. He created a story out of his you know out of the things that he wanted
Yep.
to talk about and about like societal evils and ills and as well as the good that can come from those things in some cases.
And I think I enjoy the way that he used like actual people who do the voice cast as well. So like the comedy duo is actually the actual comedy duo, and the rap guy actually was voiced by the actual rapper.
Oh, Yano was voiced by a hip hop artist. That's interesting.
Yep. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I can't even pick a favorite character out of here. I like Otokawa a lot. I like Yano a lot. I like the boar from Homo Sapiens. The giraffe, who was barely relevant at all, but I just love his design so much, like his big ass glasses and his like schoolboy uniform. It's just so funny.
Yep. Oh, I enjoy almost all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is such a great show that that uh you feel like every one of them have a place in this world, and you enjoy watching like every one of them.
Yeah. And then seeing what they look like as humans too. That's kind of a treat.
Yeah, and yeah, that brings me to the last point is Shirakawa involvement, because I think she like underrepresented in this show.
I agree. The capoeira, is that
Yep.
is that what the animal's name is, or is that the martial art that she knows?
Oh, I think that's the martial art, the
Is she an
capoeira.
alpaca? Is that what animal she is?
See the alpaca, yeah, see the
Okay.
alpaca,
Yes, I
yeah,
agree. I would have liked a little bit more of her, rather
yeah.
than her just, being an early clue into the fact that Dobu had his fingers in a whole bunch of schemes, and then some stuff
Mm.
about like a love story between her and Odokawa. Would have liked to see like one other point on her intersection in the main plot.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I expect more of out of her character, so I'm a bit let down
Yeah,
because like when we get to her, it's more about her relationship with Odokawa, and I think that give her a big disservice, because she by herself is an interesting character as well.
yeah, I agree.
I think my favorite have to be Dobu. He's
Dobu is
he's
your
a cool to
favorite.
watch. Yep,
Interesting.
he's a cool to watch. He have like his sense of justice as well, but he's not a nice person.
Yeah, he is interesting. The code of ethics
Yep,
that this crime organization has, don't kill, being their only rule.
yep,
It's
hmm
interesting to see how they navigate that.
yep,
How Dobu does it, because he threatens violence all the time and he'll use it, but he can't kill anybody. He's prohibited.
yep. All right, I think we move on to the next shows.
Sure.
Fumetsu no Anata A, to your eternity,
Yeah. So episode 6 through the current one is 12, I think.
to 12.
Yeah.
Right.
And episode 5 I
I think
thought
it's
was awesome. And then episode 6 starts the Gugu arc, which conveniently for us
hmm.
ends at wait, does episode 6 start the Gugu? Does he meet Gugu in episode 6?
All right, because I remember that we missing out on one episode because I I missed that episode out of the mid season,
Yeah.
and I think that episode is episode 6.
Yeah. So I'm looking back at my blog post on
I
episodes
don't
6 and 7, and I wrote that Gugu was the star of episode 7, but was he in episode 6? I'm not sure.
because I remember that episode 6 was actually awesome. Oh, that's the one where he's in the forest and he fighting with that thing.
Yeah, and he's also traveling with the old woman. I think episode 6
Yep.
is kind of dedicated to getting him into his new spot.
Yep. So he will meet Guru at the end of that episode. Guru.
That's right. That's right. You're right.
Yep.
Um,
And I remember that episode 6 was really interesting to me because it's introduced like another immortal, like enemy.
yeah.
Uh,
So you must have
so
really
so
liked the last couple of episodes then,
mm,
because the
mm.
Immortals shows up in like a bunch of different forms and is more and more threatening every time because it continues to evolve.
All right. I must say that the Google Act I think is better than the first few act that we see. Like I'm certainly enjoy it more than March act, for example. Um, it's still I'm still a bit not convinced in many of its elements.
What's unconvincing?
All right, the way I think the tone they have the tonal issues. for once. Like, uh, especially when it comes to Green,
Yeah.
like her innocence. I just feel like that doesn't match very well with like the rest of the story.
I don't know. I mean, I
And
feel like
I
that
do feel
is
like
just the way that Fumetsu is. Like it has all those weird Full Metal Alchemist types of cutaways to little humorous bits, and then jumps back to the main story.
Mhm.
I try not to get too hung up on that stuff because like anime is just weird, you know.
Okay. And I feel like food. I think it by design, but I still feel that Fuji, like maturing as a human being in this arc is a bit too quickly. Like he can converse like normally at the
There's a
end,
4 year
and
time skip.
yeah, it just for years time skip. It's nothing for the immortal.
I think 4 years is long enough for him to learn how to talk. I mean, did you
To
notice that he was still like stuttering on some words? Like when he was talking about marriage
even
with
after four
Reen, he
years.
says kekkon.
All right,
So
that's
whenever
good
he
to
was
hear.
using a word
All
that was
right.
unfamiliar to him, he would still like pause for a second. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, but I'm more hanging about his like emotional as a human being because he matured a lot in 4 years because he can feel empathy to others. He feel like a great like relationship to Gugu, and I think it's by design, but it's still a big step forward for him than I wanted.
and I don't. I think the show provided a perfectly reasonable explanation for why it happened. It was because he wasn't transforming and he was actually
Yeah,
living as a human.
yeah, yeah.
So he didn't have the same difficulty like, you know, picking up language and empathizing with people and developing his skills as a functional human being. He didn't have any of those problems anymore, and he didn't learn slowly. He learned at a normal pace because he wasn't shifting forms all the time. So he was, for all intents and purposes, a human being, rather than an immortal being for those 4 years.
All right,
But everything got
and I met.
reset when he had to transform in order to fight in the most recent episode or two.
Yep, yep, yep. And like I mentioned, like I enjoyed episode 6, but like episode 7 was alright, but I remember that one of the episode was really really bad. I think that's the episode where Google realizing that Grams had put the stuff in his belly,
Right.
so that
Like the
he runs
organ that
away.
produces sake.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
So that he runs away from home, and all of it like what he experienced, like he met his brother who is drunk and like unconscious. He experienced his life like as a freak, like how people around him seeing him, even to the point where Gramps and Gramps reaction to it. It just all of it just feels so uneven to me. Like the time where where he suddenly realized that he run away when and we it and we hear the soundtrack and it just doesn't match.
Yeah. I remember
It's
which
supposed to be
episode.
dramatic, but yeah,
I remember what you're talking about, the episode and the scene, and I also didn't like it very much. It was very weird.
yeah. I just feel that like if more time spending like expanding the plots because like it plot have a point, but because they put it too quickly, like everything happened um to too close to each other's, that like you don't really feel the impact at all.
Yeah, I do think that's a problem that the show has, not just in the Gugu arc, um, all throughout. But
Mm.
it does come up with like really winning moments that will
Yeah.
bring the show back into your good graces.
Yeah.
For
So I
example, the scene where Reen like
mhm.
leans up and like puts her head kind of inside Gugu's helmet so that she can give him a kiss right before he dies.
Uh.
I was like, that's great. That's a great image. Um,
Yep.
it's like a real Beauty and the Beast moment,
Yep.
but weirder
Mm.
and thus cooler.
Yep.
But then there's other
Right.
stuff that is just strange, like you said, when he runs away from home and he meets his brother. The impact of that reunion is basically nothing because the whole episode surrounding it is not focused on that relationship, and the betrayal of his older brother was pretty vague when it happened originally. And so when his brother shows
Yep.
back up in episode 11 or whatever it was, um, it's like you're thinking as a viewer, what's the point of this? Why do I need to see this? Of course, Gugu is gonna reject him and say, "Get the hell out of here," and I'm not gonna feel one way or another about it watching the episode because there doesn't seem to be a lot of point to it. And then the brother is conveniently there in proximity when Gugu dies. His brother's just hanging around in the area of Reen's family estate so that he can
Yep.
react to his brother's passing. It just
Yep.
doesn't make a lot of
There's
sense.
there's a lot of I think I mentioned you that in the in our last conversation of this show, but there's a lot of for me there well I'm trying to using the correct words that I used back then, but I feel it just forced a lot of convenient uh, plot threads just happen to be there to like push the plot forward, and I a bit feeling manipulated by some of these event that happen there. Not that much in this Google Act, which is good, but I did feel that in the last Zero Act.
I see.
How do you think about the production of the show?
I think that in general it is below where it needs to be, but every once in a while there is a really awesome piece of animation, like a really cool looking cut. And I'm sure
Hmm.
you already know which one I'm talking about.
Yep. 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 Beauty and the Beast.
No, not that one. That was a great image and a great scene. But I'm talking about the one where Gugu is fighting the wood monster, the knocker, and it's like rearing
Hmm.
up on its hind legs, and it's in the forest, and then you see it like lunge forward and close the distance between them in like 1 second as it like
Yep.
barrels through the forest, pushes all the trees out of the way, and takes a swipe at
Hmm.
him. That was
Yep.
unbelievable looking. Somebody spent a whole week, one man, just animating that 1 second.
Is it? Is it a fact?
No, that's not a
Wow.
fact, but
All right. All right.
that's that's what I'm imagining. Like somebody slaving away at that, like I don't know how long it was, maybe 2 seconds long, and it must have taken
Mhm.
them days and days, at least, to draw it because it was animated on ones. I went back and paused and went through frame by frame, and every single frame there was a new drawing, and it looked awesome. But yeah, I don't know why I'm talking about so much about this scene when in general I feel like the production's kind of like slightly below average, which is not what
Hmm.
a manga like this deserves.
Hmm. Yep. I don't have that much of an issue with the production, except for like the soundtrack. I think it sometimes really plays.
I agree with that.
Um, yeah, in the story that I have a bit more problem of. So yeah, I think it's just me and this source material is not. It just not meant to be together.
Well, I mean, a new arc is
I will
coming
watch
up.
more of it though.
New
Yep.
arc's coming up, so
So let's see.
the new like
But
character, whichever new character is kind of the focus that Fushi attaches himself to and forms a relationship with him, might be someone who you really love to follow. You know.
Yep. And it still follow that the same formula because the way that it stimulate Fuji stimulate the characters, so they have to die for him to stimulate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it will be interesting if the next act or the next hero act Fuji is not a human being. He's kind of, if he become a wolf and he like get used to like the wolf or others like behavior. I think that would make this so great. I don't think this show will go that way though.
Yeah, I don't know why it would now that he's got the ability to talk. That's
Yep.
the author's got to be feeling pretty good about that. It makes their job easier, so that
Yeah.
they won't put him back in an animal prison.
All right. So
Dynazenon.
is it just like 20 episodes for this shows?
It is. So we've got 8 more to go, and I imagine, given the length of the Gugu story, which is about 6 episodes, we'll probably get one now that's about 8 episodes long. Probably one more arc will close it out. So hopefully it's a good
Yep.
one. We'll see.
All right, we'll see. Then the last one is Dynazenon.
Yeah.
How you feel about this show compared to the original Gridman? I think
I
that's the
don't.
question I always ask.
I don't think it's easy to compare the two. I think they're very different.
Yep, I agree on that.
Like this one was a lot more straightforward than Gridman. At least I think it was. More character focused at the start, and then kind of broadened up to be about like humans versus kaiju. Didn't do a lot of diving into its characters' pasts. Whereas,
Is it?
yeah, I don't think it did. I mean, it did for Yume and her story, but
Yep.
like the whole relationship between Galma and the eugenicists, we only saw like a blink of that in episode 10. It's not as though the show was like, here's how, we hardly saw any scenes between them, and we don't know exactly what country it was that they served 5,000 years ago,
Yep.
and we don't know why the monarchy changed their mind and decided to eliminate kaiju users, and what Galma's motivation was for staying loyal while the other ones broke away.
We don't even see the princess face
Right.
for once.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions unanswered, whereas Gridman dove very deeply into Akane's state of mind and how Alexis Carib was manipulating her. And it became her story, I think, by the end. Whereas
Yep.
Gridman, I think, was probably Yomogi's story. Yomogi and Yume.
I do think
Or
that
Dynazenon, I'm sorry.
Yep. While Gridman is more focused about its world, its law, and ultimately it's about like a bigger universe. This Dynazenon is more self-contained in a way that it focuses more about its characters and the relationship more than like have any more like have any like care for they don't really care to expand the universe because they're gonna be a season 3 that's gonna deal with all that. That's the way I feel.
I think there probably is going to be a season 3, but what you might be referring to is the Gridman Dynazenon crossover. Is that what you're talking about?
Wow, there is a crossover.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about that.
Okay.
I thought that is supposed to be like season 3.
No, I think that's going to be like either a film or an OVA or something. I don't think that's going to be the third
Right.
season. But
Alright,
sometimes it's hard to
alright.
tell. You could be right. Sometimes it's hard to tell with anime. Like, you know how Pluto, we still don't really know if it's a film or like an 8-part OVA or what exactly it is. Because
Yep,
the language
yep.
that they use when promoting it in the early stages is not very clear.
Well, I think they purposely not to be clear so that they can tweak that away.
Yeah, I agree.
Just like the Shirobako films.
Was Shirobako, was there a question about it being a second season? originally?
No. I'm talking about the content inside the serial film. They
Ah,
making a movies. That basically just based on the promotion materials.
right. There was just an announcement, and what form it was going to
Yep.
take was basically like
Yeah,
left up
and
to everyone's imagination.
they still have to stay consistent to what appear in the promotion, even though they change the whole story.
Right. And the length, that was really interesting to me,
Yep.
was that they
Yep.
had to
Yep.
stick to the promised length of an
Yep.
hour and whatever, you know. But that's all
Yeah.
business. I don't know anything about business.
Me neither. So yeah, back to Dynazenon. I feel like they have like a really great concentrate on the characters mind this time. So I feel like I'm more into with the characters more than Gridman. And we were kind of expecting another episode like episode 9 of Gridman,
We
where
kind
it's
of
like
got one.
everything when everything is streamed, and we kind of got one, and I enjoyed that episode a lot. I think it's like one of the stronger episodes I've seen so far in this sorry not so far I've seen in this season.
Yeah. I guess I would agree. I mean, I definitely like its style. But as with a lot of the rest of Dynazenon, it was just very like Yomogi and Yume focused. And
Yep.
the reveals that we got about Gauma and the eugenicists, I already kind of complained about that. But that episode was the source of my like anxiety about their plot because we didn't, you know, I think you have to watch the original Tokusatsu series probably to figure out what the hell was going on there. It's not answered in the show, and episode 10 like purposefully neglects to give you very much information. And then there's the whole thing with Koyomi, the NEET,
Yep.
like re-experiencing his chance to be with
That girl.
yeah, the girl that he went to high school with, who was also Yomogi's boss at his part-time job. I thought she was
Yep.
going to be way more significant than she was, and whenever anything to do with her and Koyomi came up, I was like, huh? And whenever
And
anything with Koyomi and Mujina, the female eugenicist who had some weird connection, I was even more confused by that. I didn't understand what the point of that or the purpose of that was even a little bit. And so
yep.
episode
Yep.
10
Yep.
also disappointed me there. Is just the Yomogi and Yume stuff, I think, that was pretty strong in terms of character.
Even with like Yume stuff about her sister death, I think they still left it a bit, like ambiguous.
Yeah, it was a little bit
Like
ambiguous.
like we didn't really know that if she like really committed suicide or it was an accident.
Right.
And I remember like they have like two really weird shots at the ex-boyfriend of her sister, where like he looks away when they mentioned about that incident.
Yeah.
So like on that scene, I was thinking like he might know something here, or he might be responsible for that, but the show doesn't really drive into it at all.
Yeah. And I think that's okay. It kind of
I think that's okay.
it
Yep.
kind of creates a little bit of intrigue. I think the best justification for that decision actually comes from episode 10 when Yume meets up with Kano again because they're all inside the belly of that kaiju which allows them to like re-experience parts of their lives and stuff.
Yep.
And when she sees her sister, like the first thing she does is yell out like don't do it, you know.
Yep. Yep.
And then so after that, when they finally get to talking, Yume expresses that it doesn't matter. Like to her, now that she's come this far and learned this much about what Kano was going through, it doesn't matter to her whether it was a suicide or
Yep.
not. What
It d-
matters is that
it
her
doesn't
sister
actually.
died and left her alone, and how she
Yep.
like the pain that she's carrying as a result of that is what matters. I thought that was they worked that in pretty nicely, I think.
Yep. Yep. I agree on that. I think that the whole scene are really affecting. I really golden. I especially really like the last moment where she come back to say goodbye to her sister, and there's a free frame of her sister.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just feel like it's a really good direction from the directors.
Yeah, I like that moment a lot as well.
Yep.
I also like the final episode a lot.
All
Thought
right,
it was
remind me
cool.
a bit of the final episodes, please.
Hmm?
I'm trying to thinking about the final
Trying to
episodes
think
now.
about it.
All right, so one of the Shimuzu, he become a kaiju and everyone had to fight against him,
Yeah.
and then his and the others die. I think they die for good.
I don't know if they
Not
do or not.
sure.
Because
Yep.
as
At the same
all the
time,
other three
Gongma
eugenicists
is
are like screaming and yelling and like, ah, we're gonna win, we're gonna beat you, and he is like mysteriously kind of quiet during all those scenes.
yep. And actually, did you notice that Shizumu doesn't appear in the flashback of Gongma?
I did not notice that.
Yeah, I did notice that they're only like the three other members, and the princess, not Shizumu.
Well, I
So
guess that makes
maybe
sense.
Shizumu is like the incarnation of the princess or something. I'm not really sure, but he kind of the odd one now out of the team for me.
Yeah, well, he's a kaiju, so it makes sense that he wouldn't have been
Hmm.
in that flashback. Like he probably just inserted himself, maybe like controlled people's minds, like the other eugenicist minds, and even Galma's maybe, and like made them think that he had always been their comrade or something. I don't know. There's a lot of unspoken stuff
Yep.
in here, but it just in general, the fact that he was a kaiju in disguise makes sense that he wouldn't be
Yeah.
present in the same way that the others were in that flashback.
Hmm.
And the thing, what I like about the final episode with regard to, I mean,
Yep.
Shizumu has like nothing on Alexis Carup. Akane
Uh-huh.
and everything going on with her is just way more interesting than what was happening with Shizumu. Like, surprise, I'm a kaiju.
Yep. All right.
But the design of the kaiju, especially after he ate the other three eugenicists, was really cool. All the transformation
Yep.
sequences, they used like the best version of all of them, and the
Yep.
music
Yep.
was
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
A lot of the effects work, like those sorts of shots where the character's face is in one corner of the frame, and then they kind
Hmm.
of swoop their face across their body, and it gets much bigger as it moves to the other part of the frame, like it's swinging from one side to the other as they're like rotating their body and
Yep.
yelling.
Uh-huh.
Can you picture that sort of shot?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the final episode of Dynazenon did that like 8 times, and it was awesome every time. I love that sort of stuff. It's very Gynax.
Yep.
So I appreciated that, of course. And beyond that, like I thought the epilogue was also very tasteful. I love the fact that Chise got that tattoo of Goldburn, that Koyomi got his hair cut and found a job. I loved all the shots of Dynazenon in its like really beaten up state. It was no
Yep.
longer red; it was like rusted and brown and stuff. And then you get to see it reinvigorated in the digital world at the very end, like
Yep.
the last shot. I thought that was really cool because I think it implies that Galma is still alive, like he
Yep.
has become the
Yep.
soul of Dynazenon.
Yep. I get that as well.
So all that stuff I thought was neat. I just thought there were a lot of good individual decisions that went into the finale, even if Gridman's was like more thought provoking and more abstract overall.
Yep. I think Richmond is more like more ambitious. This one is more like keenly looking on these characters, and I think that's why I personally I think I enjoy this one more than Richmond,
Really, I'm
because
really surprised to
they
hear you say that.
they have the characters that I care more about.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think.
So yeah, I think it's a really good season that we watch. Even like I think that Dynazenon is like the best directed show out of the all show that we watch.
Visually, I agree.
visually, yep.
Yeah. Which I
Like
guess is what
if
the
you
director
if
is
you
responsible for. The visuals in general in anime, the director is
yep.
the visual guy.
And even like the dialogue, I also enjoy the dialogue in this one. I feel like it's not, like it feels natural to me.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people have been making comments like that. I think Gridman had that as well a little bit.
Mhm.
But whenever people say that, I keep coming back to the pool episode with like all the weird pauses and the churro eating scene. I just hated that episode.
I All right. I don't remember that episode happened at
Okay.
all. So
I mean, put that out of your mind, I
it,
guess. That was
I
the
was
worst one. If episode 10 was the best, then episode 5, the pool episode, was the worst.
yep.
And in my notes, like I keep notes about stuff for like the anime of the year type of
Hmm.
thing. I have written down that episode 2 of Dynazenon is my favorite. I don't even remember why, so I'll be rewatching that one at least at some point to figure out why I liked it so much.
All right. I remember like episode one where Goma appears. Like very hungry. Um, and at the end of that episode, we got like the four of them. Like randomly put together. So what happened in the second episode?
I don't remember,
I
man.
think the other guys appear. I would say
Yeah, we probably see the eugenicist for the first
uh,
time, and we also get to see
you
everyone.
may yeah, and then you may flashback. I think like her hanging up with her sister. I think we learned that
Perhaps. I think what I liked
perhaps
a lot about episode 2 was the idea that we were going to have 4 different pilots, and we got to see the early stages of their partnership when they still weren't very comfortable with each
maybe.
other. I think I liked that a lot.
All right, makes sense. Cool. So yep, that was it for the summer season.
Yes.
For the spring season. Sorry.
Yes, that one.
So we're looking forward to the summer season now, which will happen next week with all the 10 shows.
Yeah. We've
All
already
right.
got them decided on. We just got to wait for them to
Yep,
air.
that's right. All right, so let's go to Kemonozume,
Let's do it.
episode 9 to 11.
Yeah. So this the show got weird.
Yeah, that's I definitely agree with.
I mean, it was already really weird. Do you remember episode 6?
Yep, yep. All the episodes are weird, but we did learn something. I didn't really connect it the giant guy Sechi to be a son of Oba.
Right. I think we learned that for the first time in these episodes.
Yep,
I was
yep,
trying to
yep.
avoid making that clear as we were talking about earlier
Hmm.
stuff, but now the
Yep.
cat's out of the bag.
So that was a nice surprise. Uh, I really enjoy episode 9 until like until the very last moment. I think like at some point I realized that the grandma and grandpa have to die, had to be a monster,
Yeah.
and that's where it like it taken a bit out of my enjoyment. Before that though, like even with these scenes, with these short scene that we see, like they appear to be like a really well written. I don't think it's the right word, but they have their presence,
Yeah.
and I,
They're
I
great.
really enjoy like the trip that they spend with our Yuka and Toshiko.
Yeah, this is the episode that I was referring to earlier when I was saying like Kemonozume is an anime with really with dialogue that kind of jumps out at you. There are a
Yep, yep,
lot
yep.
of a lot of the conversations that Toshiko and Yume have with the grandma and grandpa in the van
Hmm.
are like you could have a conversation like that yourself with a couple of strangers, um,
Hmm.
just talking, giving very few details about yourself and like fielding their questions and then talking about, oh, look at this, here's this salt lake, and
Yep.
Oh, this is so beautiful. I've heard that there are some bacteria that can only live in very moist
Yep.
and salty environments. Like weird little pieces of information and tangents like
Yep.
that, I think are the secret spice that makes conversation and dialogue, like in cinema, interesting to listen to.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right. Agree.
and like Yuka talking about the fact that you want to heat the pan first when you're making fried rice because it prevents the rice from sticking. Just
Yep.
little stuff like that, makes their reconciliation, Toshihiko and Yuka, it makes it way more. It makes it less like the author went into the scene and put their pencil on the paper with the express purpose of bringing the two characters back together. Instead, it makes
Hmm.
it feel like,
It actually,
yeah,
I agree with you on that. It actually run up the risk that like the on the conversation would go nowhere. Like you don't you feel that it aimlessness.
well, that's if you take it too
But
far.
I do agree that yep, I do agree that these more like small exchanges that they have that we learn a bit more information about them, and not necessarily have to do with their development or to advance the plot, that like tell the person as they are. And like it feel natural, it feel like it actually like the conversation that we have.
Yeah,
So yeah, for me, I'm all in for it, but yeah, like to my point, that is it can run a bit of aimlessness.
I didn't feel that even a second of it was aimless. I loved the whole thing, and I
Mm.
love the fact
Yeah.
that they turned into monsters as well. Because as soon as
Oh,
they mentioned that they were taking
you
medicine,
you
immediately
grew thing. Yep. Yep. That's
you
right.
know that it's the medicine that Oba has been putting onto the market.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
Oba is the Sakuma of this series.
Yep. I agree on that. So he actually taking the spotlight in the episode 10 and 11, and is he like the only two? Sorry, the only episode 10 is the only episode that we don't see Yuka as a at all. Actually,
That's not
I noticed
true,
it.
right? We see her. We see a shot of her in his van with a ball gag in her mouth.
All right. Yep. Yep. You're right. It's just like a split 2 seconds
Yeah.
of that, but yes.
I thought the start of that episode was really
Oh.
interesting.
Mhm.
Like the field of flowers that he walks to in order to get to the convenience store, which is for some reason at the top of a hill with all these with
Yep.
this meadow surrounding it, and like him seeing the magazine.
With her.
Yeah, well, a woman that looks like her but with bigger breasts. Like Yuasa just getting in another jab at like male perversion,
Yep.
as he did in episode 11 a lot as well, with like the very voyeuristic changing scene where Oba is watching on the other side of a camera.
Yep. And it was really weird as well, like the way Oba appeared with that hat.
Yeah, I mean the person who sells the medicine to the grandma and grandpa in episode 9 is wearing that same hat,
Oh,
so you
didn't
know that it
notice
was
that. All
actually
right.
him.
Yep.
But the question is, why that hat? Like,
Yep.
I think it's just to emphasize the fact that he's like insane. Like an insane person would wear that
Mm.
hat.
Yep.
And he's definitely crazy.
And yeah, he is like I can see the way he work. Like I think it makes sense. I think the story really go weird places now. That it is when he not focus on Kazuma at all, but he focused on Ri instead to be a monster, and he make a fight between her and Yuka.
Yeah. It does. It
It's just
does. That's a very long scene as well. The whole
yeah,
process of Rie, having the Shokujinki arms grafted onto her body, and then there's the reveal that Yuka is chained up in the ceiling above that, and he has to
yeah,
talk to her for like a long time in order to put her into the state of mind where she's ready to
yeah.
fight. Um, so
I think
it's like its own piece. It's
yep,
it hardly even
yep,
seems to belong to the rest of the show. It's like its own kind of showcase for Aoba's voice actor. Um, and it's kind of interesting. I
Yep.
do get a little bit weary at this point in Kemonozume's run. I remember that because Oba just dominates
Mm.
everything that's going on. It gets
Yeah,
slightly tiresome, but it's still really like interesting and experimental.
it's interesting. I agree that Oba, like taking the big stage in the last two episode is not really a total great thing.
Yeah, it's not
Like
really what you want to see.
yeah, he a bit too overwhelming and overpowered. But the way that like they spend the extended time to talk, to have him like monologuing, or talking to Ri and Yuka to like to bring their hatred out for each other. I think it's effective in a way
Effective?
that like yeah, I think it's a way that you feel the uncomfortableness
Yeah.
out of it, and like it is a way to get into his crazy mind.
Yeah,
So
kind of.
I do feel like on that in that sense it work.
I guess so. I mean, I can tell that you're hesitant to like praise the episodes 10 and 11 too much because they are pretty
No.
big departures. And I get that. I mean, I had the same
Yeah,
feeling
it
when
is
I
a bit
first watched.
departure. Like I just feel that like the beginning, the first half of episode 9 is what I really like about the show. It remind me of episode 5 or 6 where the two meet the giant and talk to him.
That was episode
And
6, the really weird one.
yeah, yeah, the really good ones. Or when it focus more about Ria and like her frustration with Toshihiko, I a bit too down on that.
I
So
like
this
Rie. I like her story. I don't think that she quite
right,
gets enough. Like she makes the decision to become a Shokujinki or to
yep,
accept the Kemonozume pretty quickly. I don't think we see enough of a lead up to that.
yep,
Because Oba kind of takes over the story, and so we don't
yep,
see as much of what's happening back home with the Kifuken.
mm-hmm,
But we do, there's some clever like visual shorthand in episode 10 to give us a
mm-hmm,
sense of how the dojo and how Rie's life are being impacted, like
yep,
the shrinking
yep,
portions of fish that
yep,
she's serving at first to everyone who's still there, and then to just 3 people, and then the amount of fish
yep,
gets smaller and smaller. But then on the last day, right before she leaves, she makes like a
mm-hmm,
beautiful steak
yep, yep,
because internally she has resolved that she's going to put this upon herself and fix things and bring Toshihiko back to her and finally win his love.
yep,
So
yep,
you get a sense of a little bit that way. You do get a sense that she is has come to this decision over a period of time, but
yep,
I think even more time was probably warranted.
yep. So I definitely gonna say that episode 10 and 11 like put the show into an interesting direction.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it like the last two episodes justify it, but yeah, we will see on that. I think, but like the first 9 episodes they have up and down, but I'm enjoying them. I enjoy them.
Yeah, I mean, I like this show. I think it's one of the better anime from the 2000s.
Yep.
It's really different. It
I
it looks
I
great.
still yep.
The action's really cool and stylized, and the dialogue's good. The humor is top
I
notch.
I love the design of them. Like they are really loosely draw, but like they are really distinct from one another. Like each character are very distinctive.
Yeah, indeed they
Um,
are, and they all move in distinctive ways too.
that's right. Yep. I don't know how the show gonna use Kazuma though. He's a bit a question mark for me at the moment.
Well, he you can probably assume that he killed Knife in the last
Yep.
scene of episode
Yep.
11, and that
And he gone insane. I think
yeah,
might be.
well he's he's like becoming more of a flesh eater than he is a human.
Yep.
And so because Toshihiko and what's the giant's name? Bon, is that right?
Saji. I got his name here is Saji.
Saiji?
Yeah.
Huh.
For some reason.
Okay. Like you see that shot of him and Toshihiko and the monkey like on the boat sailing towards
Yep.
the
Yep.
Oba building or whatever it's called, like the skyscraper.
Uh-huh.
So that seems to be like the final, confrontation between Oba and that party of like
Yep.
fighters. So the question becomes like, where does Kazuma fit into all this? I think that because he's making the transformation into a flesh eater, that we can assume he'll involve himself somehow. He's
Yep,
probably
that's right.
what will motivate him is probably to find Rie because she's the only one who could like calm him. There was a like 2 or 3 minute stretch near the end of episode 10, which packed in a lot of material, and part of that was a scene like an off-screen shower scene, I think, with a camera like that was live action, and there was a camera like slowly crawling through a hallway outside the bathroom where
Yep,
you could
yep,
hear
yep.
Kazuma's voice and Rie's voice, and I couldn't tell
Yep.
like exactly if they were being intimate or what was going on there, but
All right. Because they cut into like two different scenes. So the first one we see that Kazuma like being crying and Ri, like just impress him.
but we don't
But
see
the
that actually
se-
happen, right? We just can assume.
but the second scene, no, we see that Kazuma like have his head like crying under her chest. So that scene was not anything sexual or anything, but like the second scene where I see it where I feel it's a bit weird, like I the from the shot I take, like she take her bras off or like her top off or something.
I
We
remember
don't
what
see
shot you're
that for
talking
sure.
about. Was that in the
Yeah,
shower?
that was still in the shower. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So
It
yeah,
was
they
hard to
made.
determine exactly what was going on in that scene because it wasn't just Kazuma and Rie who were like having their story added to there. There were other shots of things that were happening elsewhere that were
Yep, yep. Happen at the
like
same time.
laced in there, and it was too much for me. Like that sometimes that happens when you watch a Yuasa episode.
Yep,
It gets into a
yep.
mode where it's like, all right, well, we're just going to tell a story totally visually, and it's going to be 3 stories at the same time, and it's only going to be 5 seconds between them, and you're just going to have to figure it out for yourself. And I'm like, okay, so
Good
this is what's
luck.
happening over here, and then we're over here now with these other characters, and they're at a different place, and is this the same time period? I don't even know. I can't keep up.
Yep. Conveniently though, I have that shot with me here, so I'm gonna send that to you.
Oh, okay.
So I can make head or tail out this single shot. Like if they are sexually intimate or some or anything.
Yeah, I saw it pop up. I don't really. It's hard to tell.
Yep. It's hard to tell. But in any case, I'm not be surprised if they have anything sexual with each other, because this show is all about sexual
Yeah,
awakening and stuff.
yeah, and he's like carried a torch for her since they've been acquainted.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
All we got into this topic because we were like, how is Kazuma gonna factor into the final episodes? Well, his
That's
motivation
right.
for
Yep.
getting involved is that he's gonna try to find Rie.
Right. Like in the beginning, I thought that it's gonna be the battle between Toshihiko and Kazuma.
Right.
That's gonna be the end game. One represent the monster and one represent the human. But now that Oba, like he just taking the big stage, he become like the main villain of this story. I'm thinking that like my theory is that for the fight between Yuka and Rie will die. Kazuma, when he get into that, he become angry, he lose control, and he attack Yuka and Toshihiko, and they like they have big fight against each other, and then afterwards they're gonna have to deal with Oba. So he's the final boss.
Yeah, I mean that sounds about right. I can't remember exactly how it goes down in the final episode. I mean, I think what would be pretty interesting is Toshihiko taking not Yuka's arms to do the Kemonozume, but his stepbrother's arms.
Huh.
So
That's
Toshihiko
sound
with
alright.
Kazuma's arms.
To destroy Oba. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think at this rate, Ria and Yuka gonna die.
I think Rie
They
might
just
already
be
be dead
manipulated. Oh,
because she
shit.
fights against Yuka,
That's
and the fight only lasts like 10 seconds. It was really cool. It was the
yeah.
animation style completely flipped, and it was like the camera was moving nonstop around them as it was happening. So of course it couldn't be sustained for a full minute or anything. But Rie gets like kind of slashed up a little bit and crumples to the floor. I don't know if she's dead. She might be
Yeah.
like hanging on to life, but I don't think she's gonna emerge at the end of episode 13. I don't think she's gonna emerge with her life still.
Yep. And the way it focused on her operation is actually pretty damning as well. I think the show does a pretty good job of making it uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, just demonstrating how much of a creep Oba is
Yep.
I think the
Yep.
point.
I at one moment, it's like a single moment. I was thinking, you were saying that what's a creep USA is.
Oh yeah, well I mean
I don't blame
Yuasa
you.
is definitely interested in sex, like depicting
Yep.
sexuality in animation. It's in Kaiba. Definitely,
In
like
Kaiba,
the scene where the woman transfers her
yep,
brain into another body so she can have
yeah,
sex with
this,
herself. It's in Tatami
yep, the
Galaxy with
second episode.
Johnny,
Yep, the
Devilman
of
Crybaby
of
for sure.
of course, and my game as well. They're like a sex scenes
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
happening there. Yep.
Um, Night of Short
All
Walk on
right,
Girl a little bit as well.
a
Johnny
little
shows up
bit.
there.
It's just Ezuken that he fits in under that.
And Lou Over the Wall and Ping Pong and
Wow,
probably some
actually,
other
that's a lot.
stuff.
Yep.
Whatever I'm missing.
Right. I have never watched his Kick Hat.
Oh, Kick
It's just
Hard's
like
great and somewhat sexual as far as memory serves. But Kick Hard is awesome. I would definitely check it out. It's like 12 minutes long. That's it.
All right, I will check it out. Yep. So how confident are you with the ending of Kemonozume?
Like whether it's going to be good or not.
Yep. Yep.
I already have a vague recollection, not of the events, but of how much I liked it.
Right.
So I feel like that would kind of be spoiling it.
All right. All right. I'm not sure myself. Like I think the last night episode have been spot on, have been interesting, but now that with Oba, like taking the influence, I'm a bit worried.
Yeah. The show,
But
I
yeah, we
think
will
I
see
think a
that.
lot of give me a second. Sorry. I think a lot of anime tend not to pull the trigger on like revealing the extent of their villain's madness until like episode 11 or something out of
Yep.
12, whereas Kemonozume does it in episode 10 out of 13. So it just is
15.
giving a
Yep.
lot of space to this one character who has been relatively minor thus far.
Yeah.
And I think
Yep.
it's to make a point because he's like a ruthless businessman. He's influencing political policy.
Oh.
He
Yep.
is drugging the public. I think Yuasa is grinding a little bit of an axe here.
Yep.
It's not just about how crazy this one dude is. It's about how vicious and money hungry, like the people behind the scenes are, the boogeymen, who are propping up,
Yep.
who are like buying off politicians and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That's who Oba is supposed to
Uh,
represent, and that's why he's made into such a clown in these episodes, because these are the sort of people we're supposed to hate.
yep. There's one more thing I want to mention. The shots that we see, like before the credit scenes.
Oh yeah.
There's one of them that I think happened in Vietnam.
Yes, I
The
agree.
Vietnam War.
At the start of episode 9.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like even like the content, the story of it is so weird.
Well, I think it was
I
what was the
can't
idea
make
there that like the Americans
the American come and I think like kidnap girls to be like their servants or like
yeah.
sexual slave.
Yeah.
And then like at one point where like the girl cook for him, he refused. So that's how she angry and she become a monster to eat him.
Right. It was definitely like some political commentary there. And
Yep.
that's not the first time that the show has done that. A lot of the stuff with Alba has been political in nature.
Yep.
But this was definitely this was like anti-war, anti-America. And in war, when you learn about it in school when you're a kid, they don't talk about people being forced into sexual servitude, but it does happen.
Yep.
Like during wartime, rape
Yep.
goes
It's
way up.
happened everywhere. Yeah.
And I'm sure
even
that
have
America
like
was guilty of that in Vietnam. I know they were in World War II as well.
yeah. Well, like every winning countries, like in the world, they have that. They have kind of like camp, just for pleasure.
Right.
Like they start like all the girls there, and yeah, it just
Well, Japan has a history with that
human
as
nature.
well.
Yep.
The
With
comfort women.
with the Korean and the Chinese.
Yes. Yeah,
So
it's terrible.
yeah.
Probably deserves more than just like a 30-second cold
Oh,
open
yeah.
in a
It's gonna be
monster-themed
really
Romeo and
hard
Juliet
to
anime.
watch. Yeah.
But it's they're all very interesting. This one was probably the most pointed out of any of them so far.
Yep.
I know there was one about the episode 11 one was boxing.
Yep.
And I can't remember the episode 10 one was very weird. It was in a totally different art style. There was a woman who was nude and who was like wandering around aimlessly through some hallways until she found a man and she ate him. Something like that.
Yep. It's just like 10 seconds.
I didn't understand that one at all.
I think she was in the influence. I think she was on drug or she was just, really hungry. Not sure, but
Hungry for some
I think it's
flesh.
more like the description of like she in the influence. So
Yeah, I
makes
guess
sense.
that makes sense.
Right.
Always something to
All right.
think about
So
when you watch
Yep.
this series, even if what you're thinking about
that's
is,
right.
damn, Oba really cannot get any crazier than this, huh? And then he does.
Yep. I think he will be more crazy in the next two episodes. So we shall see.
I think you're probably right.
Yep. All right. So that I think that's the end of our this week's podcast. So next week, just 7 days from now, we're going to come up with the first impression for the summer season.
Yeah. Sunny Boy, Kobayashi's
Yep.
Dragon Maid.
Hamifura 2.
Yes.
And more.
And more, indeed.
Yep. So tune in 7 days from now, and yep, we see you back with some of our take on the new seasons.
See you then.